Ben, when it comes to Arsenal, I wanted to ask because there are reports that teams in Saudi, I believe, including Al Hilal, are showing interest in Benjamin Šeško. Arsenal will still yet to make that sort of formal offer and sort of advance the deal to that stage. Could this prompt Arsenal to accelerate their move and finally put an offer on the table?
Yeah, I think the style of Andrea Berta is kind of to line up deals almost at their fruition and then decide which one to bid on, which is why they're simultaneously still thinking about Gyökeres and Šeško. But Šeško's the one that's more advanced. And I do expect Arsenal to place a bid. The position of Arsenal is they don't want to pay the 80 million euros release clause. We'll see whether they match that with different terms. But 70 million euros, the same kind of price for Gyökeres, is the rough ballpark that Arsenal are currently talking to Leipzig about. The player's keen on the move, so this one could advance now very quickly in the coming weeks. I think Arsenal would still prefer to put that outlay into the next financial year, which might mean a July-type deal. We're a little bit misrepresented in many ways right now because everyone's assuming that clubs should be doing business. But unless you're in the Club World Cup, you really don't need to worry too much until July. That's why I think that Arsenal are not actually that panicked about anything just because other clubs, even Liverpool outside of the Club World Cup, are moving fast. Arsenal have got their targets. No one else has signed Šeško or Gyökeres, so they're fine. They're going to get Zubimendi over the line, so they're fine. They've got left-sided targets. If they wish to enter the race for Jamie Gittins, that's the only one they're going to have to try and hijack quite soon because the players agreed terms with Chelsea. But Nico Williams, another target, Rodrigo, nobody's after them yet. And Nico Williams has got a release clause, and Real Madrid have set a clear price on Rodrigo of 90 million euros or more. So it is very easy to say Liverpool have done Wirtz. They're going to do Kirkus. They've already brought in Frimpong. Chelsea have managed to get some pre-agreed deals like Dario Asugo, who's just joined, and Giovanni Quenda and Liam Delap. But Arsenal weren't in the race for any of these players. And the players they are in the race for, I'm not aware they've lost the race for any of them. So they have time. And that again comes down to all of that silent work when people say you're doing nothing, to build the relationships, to understand when the right time is to bid, to understand if the player wants to decide now or actually go on holiday and forget about it, then come back and make a decision. And that's the territory we're in now, where players are starting to end their holidays in the next week or so. And that's when Arsenal will say, okay, now we'll speak to the player. Now we'll make our move. Because imagine if, and this is where we forget that footballers are human, you're Benjamin Šeško, you're off on holiday, and Arsenal just go and place a bid with Leipzig, and it's all over the media. And then someone else counters going, well, we want Šeško as well. And he's lying on a beach in Marbella thinking, now I've got to make a decision, or now my holiday's disrupted. It can be very stressful. So this, again, is why sometimes clubs wait as well. But Šeško on the Leipzig side is advancing, and they're trying to do a deal outside of this variable release clause that goes up based on how well Šeško performs. And again, I'm still told that if they can, they would do that Šeško deal in and around 70 million euros, and a bid is imminent.
Yeah, something I was reading as well yesterday from an Arsenal in the know, and you never quite know about the in the knows, but was talking about how Leipzig have got some financial issues themselves. And I just read that and thought, well, let's just say that's true for a moment. It would also make sense for Arsenal to not just rush through a bid, pay the maximum amount, when actually if you negotiate over 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, you might save yourself 10, 15, 20 million euros that can be invested elsewhere. So I do think when it comes to Arsenal, I've been saying it for a few weeks, I think their fans have got to be a little more patient. There's a super chat here from Pav that says, is it true that Arsenal, if Arsenal don't confirm Šeško deal by the 15th of June, they will move on to Gyökeres? I really hope this is true. Have you heard anything of that sort?
No, I've not heard anything about Arsenal using those kind of deadlines. Ultimately, the window's long, and for many of the European clubs, it doesn't even start until the 1st of July. This 1st to the 10th of June window is an anomaly, and we've seen a bit of pre-lined up business and some pushing for the Club World Cup. But if you look at Al Hilal, they tried for lots of names for the Club World Cup and basically left empty-handed. And it shows you that players want to wait. Players have gone on holiday. Players want to take their time. It's a long summer. So I'm not aware of Arsenal putting any deadline on Benjamin Sesko. I think Berta's style is to line up multiple deals because that gives you leverage. If you agree Gyökeres at 70, then you're in a much stronger position to get Sesko down to 70, especially if the player wants to move, and vice versa. If you agree Sesko at 70, then when you go for Gyökeres, you've got another option you can turn to, and therefore you're in a stronger position to negotiate with Sporting. And this is generally how Berta works in the market. And it's not quite the same as Edu, who was meticulous and determined around set targets. So the Arsenal of old, which is also a perfectly normal tactic, there's no better or worse, but the Arsenal of old under Edu would go off to a club and player, would get that buy-in, would develop over time a long-standing relationship, would feel it was in their control, and then would be very firm in the market on valuation, and eventually either get the deal done because so much legwork had been put in or walk away. Berta's a bit more of a maverick. He will say, I have lots of options, so I've got all the cards, and we are prepared to put big money down on one or the other. And we think both are going to be good for Arsenal. So he'll take both deals to a more advanced state, which is kind of what we see with the Saudi approach, where it was John Duran or Victor Boniface. It was Victor Osimhen or Ivan Toney. And both players in each case were waiting to do the medical, and then they decided which one they actually wanted to close the deal for. Berta's like that. With his left hand, he's got one offer in his hand. With his right hand, he's got another one in his hand, and the fist is closed. So each club are thinking, which one's actually going to come off here? Which one is actually agreed? And it becomes a bit more of a game of poker. And that is his style. Luis Campos works like that in the market as well. So we are going to see a lot more noise creep into the market as a result, and a lot more competing stories where player A and player B are both advanced, which is why in my reporting, I always say it's Sesko and Gyökeres, even though only one of them will end up actually joining the football club if Arsenal succeed. Sesko is more advanced. Sesko is more likely at this stage, but there's no deadline as far as I'm aware. We're far too early in the window for that kind of thing.
That makes perfect sense. And yeah, thanks for the update there around Sesko and the other targets. So Arsenal, viewers, you've got your questions, get them in. It's the member section of the show as well. So we'll prioritize those comments coming through. In relation to Chelsea, obviously no agreement was made by the end of the mini deadline for Jamie Gittins. What I've read is that Chelsea remain relaxed around the situation. Are they likely to come back in for him again from the 16th of June onwards? And if they land Gittins, is that it for Chelsea in terms of their attacking options or their wide players this summer? Or could there be more experienced players purchased as well, Ben?
I think Chelsea are going to be busy once the deadline ends.